What is going on, guys? My name is Taylor Stuber, and I'm here to break down this July 27th, Tuesday, 4-game Olympic men's basketball slate over on Draftkings. Specifically, I wish I could talk about Fanduel or Prizepicks, but unfortunately, Fanduel is only playing the showdown, and I will be discussing that in a separate video that'll probably come out the day of, and I'll also break down the showdown on Draftkings as well. And then Prizepicks, they don't have their board up quite yet, but yeah, we have been taking complete advantage over on Prizepicks. Let me just switch over cameras and show you guys the damage we did yesterday. Was absolute carnage. I mean, it is wild to me, some of the projections they ended up putting on Prizepicks, and this is what I've said time and time again. I mean, we can really take advantage of these projections at times. These came out at like 2 a.m. in the morning too. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. and I made sure to alert all my members to jump all over this. Look at these over-unders that they had up on the board. This is what they originally came at. They eventually rose like 6 or 7 points each just because of how much money we were putting on it. And these lines will adjust to how much money we're putting on it. So if you guys want to take advantage of this, you can join my Patreon, or if you want my free Prizepicks plays, Draftkings plays, and Fanduel plays for completely free for a whole month, make sure to sign up and deposit using code Taylor, TAYLOR, on prizepicks.com. Send me a screenshot of you doing so, and I'll set you up in the private group for completely free for a whole month. So if you want to take advantage of that, go ahead and do so. You'll also receive a 100% match bonus up to $100. And then last thing before we jump into the slate, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and then comment below. I know it sounds corny, sounds cringy, me asking you guys to do so, but it helps out more than you possibly know for the algorithm. Helps me get more views, which helps me with brand deals and stuff like that. Helps me grow a lot faster. Yeah, and then join the Discord if you haven't already. Link is in the description for all that shit. Make sure to join. But let's just jump right into the slate. We have a nice 4-gamer after a short 2-gamer, but we have seen all of these teams already. So not only do we have the preparation qualifying games and past World Cup experience to look at, we have a actual game to look at for each one of these. But we'll start off with Germany versus Nigeria. A 166 over-under. Nigeria are currently 4.5-point favorites. Start off with this Germany team, which I'm not all that interested in. They lost to Italy 92-82 in their first game. A guy like Mo Wagner, who had a lot of expectations coming into this. I thought he was a decent GBP play, but it was kind of worrisome that he was coming off the bench and behind Voigtman. But if you saw the second half, Wagner ended up starting next to him, and so did Maudao Low. So Maudao Low in the first half, in the beginning of the game, surprisingly came off the bench for a guy like Andrew Opes, who ended up playing 29 minutes, the most on the team. But Maudao Low, he was semi-popular. He played very, very well. Played the second most minutes, 28 minutes for Maudao Low. He was probably my favorite play from Germany. But he put up a stat line of 24 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, but he shot 75% from the field, 6 of 9 from 3. And if you go look at, his performances overseas or in the past World Cup, he overperformed in that game. And at 6,800, I think there's a lot better plays in this price range than Maudao Low. I'm not going to chase the production. I don't think he's necessarily a bad play, but I think he's going to be I think he's going to be over-owned comparative to what he should be. And they did give him a small price raise. Move over to this Nigeria team, one of the we knew it coming into the Olympics that this team was going to be super spread out, because the minutes were super spread out in the preparation games, and then they added Nawara, so Jordan Nawara, who's going to play decent minutes. But they lost their first game 84-67 against Australia, who is a good team. But as expected, yeah, the minutes were completely spread out in a blowout defeat, and that was like with Precious Achiuwa and their starters and their best players playing down to the wire. So it's not like they played 3 quarters worth of minutes and then didn't play in the fourth quarter because it was blowing out. They played them all the way out, all the way to the end of the game. and they still only played that many minutes. But Precious Achua, he's probably their best player. But he's 5,900. That's the problem. He played 22 minutes. I think he put up a decent stat line, but for 5,900, it's not somewhere I'm really interested in going. I think Josh Okogie, Jordan Nwora, I think they're both pretty decent plays. Specifically Jordan Nwora, he missed all the preparation games, and so this was his debut on this team. Ended up scoring 10 points with 3 rebounds and 4 steals on 4 of 12 shooting. And he played a bit over 20 minutes. So shooting 12 times in that limited amount of time, I think he, again, plays probably 24 to 26 minutes at the height of it, 26 minutes being the height. Only $4,000 at a weak small forward position. I do like Jordan Nwora. If you want to be a bit different, he's going to be chalky. You could pivot off of him and play Josh Okogie on the same team. I know it's a different position, but for $400 more, I think that's a worthwhile pivot. But I do like Jordan Nwora a good bit at 4,000. One of the chalkier plays on the slate, but for good reason. Move over to Iran versus the U.S. Now, this is pretty funny to look at. 166.5 over under, but the U.S. is projected they are 41.5 point favorites, which is wild. Especially considering the over under isn't even that high comparative to the other games on the slate. But 41.5 point favorites for the U.S. team. But as expected, I mean, this team is so spread out. Actually, we'll start with the Iran team. They lost their first game to the Czech Republic, 84-78. And this team is very, very condensed at the top when it comes to minutes and projections. You know, Hamed Haddadi would have played about 30 minutes. He ended up fouling out late in the game. So he missed out on a minute and a half at the end of the game, but was set to play 30 minutes. But he is 9,300, and I think there's a lot better plays on this slate. He ended up having a very good game, 15 points, 10 rebounds. One of the few players in the Olympics so far to get a double-double. He might be the only, I think there was one or two others, but very few of these guys are capable of getting double-doubles. 15, 10, 4, 2, 1 stat line in that amount of time. So I think he's a decent play, GPP only for me, but these next two guys I'm going to talk about are going to be the chalk of the chalk, just because of how well they played in the first game. And, you know, it's deserved because of how this team is ran. Yak and Jams, I'm going to refer them as just because their names are so long and I don't want to butcher them. But Yak going into last game was by far my favorite play on this Iran team. Had a good bit of him. They raised his price a bit, but he's still only $4,000. He played 36 minutes. And remember, guys, these games in the Olympics are 40-minute games rather than 48 minutes. So he's playing all but 4 minutes in these games, which is wild. And even if they do get blown out, I do think that he's going to play big minutes. But I don't think that the production should necessarily stay the same. He put up a 23, 3, and 4 stat line on 9 of 16 shooting. Now, we could see like a good line, especially for this price, but I don't think you were expecting like near 40 fantasy points again. But like I said, I'm probably going to be playing him in my main lineups. It's hard for me to fade him. It's a scary fade. And then Jams, he started as well, only 3,600. I think he outperformed himself again. He had a 16-1-7 stat line in 28.5 minutes. Probably plays similar minutes again, with a somewhat similar stat line, maybe a little bit less. But this last guy, Nick, yeah, I'm just going to call him Nick. He's 3,500 at small forward position. You know, if you want a pivot off of a popular Jordan Nwora, he is going to play more minutes than him. I can almost guarantee you that. He played 32 minutes, which was the most on the team, or the second most on the team, with an 8.623 stat line. And I think he's going to be severely underowned just because a lot of people are going to play Nwora. A lot of people are going to play Jams and Yak because they played a lot better than him. And so he's going to go super underowned. But if you look at the last game of the World Cup, he had or if you look at the last World Cup, he averaged 12.6 points, 2.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 27 minutes per game. So I think his role has grown, so he's going to play more minutes, and he just shot poorly this game. And that's because Yak and James were playing so well. So on a normal scenario, I think that Nick is going to be closer to their scores, and if not scoring more than them. So I think he's a sneaky play, and not many people are going to be looking towards him. But move over to the U.S. team, probably the team I'm the least interested in on this entire slate. Kevin Durant is the only guy I'm really interested in. They, of course, lost to France 83-76, which was wild. But Kevin Durant, I'm expecting a huge bounce back game out of him. I think he probably plays anywhere from like 26 to 30 minutes in this game. You go back to the last World Cup. These U.S. guys, the minutes are so spread out that these price tags aren't justifiable outside of maybe Kevin Durant. He was in foul trouble all last game. If you didn't play that or didn't watch, he was in foul trouble and then ended up fouling out with like almost the entire fourth quarter to go. So it was a rough outing from Kevin Durant, but I expect a big bounce back game from him. And then one other thing to note, Jeremy Grant was a DNP. So that was pretty surprising to see that Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee got some run, but Jeremy Grant did not. So with them being such big favorites, the minutes are probably going to be even more spread out than normal. Maybe Keldon Johnson, JaVale McGee get a bit extra run. They are fairly cheap. If this game is like a 40-point game, maybe Keldon Johnson gets more run. But from what I've seen in these Olympic games so far, even when the games are completely blowing out, they tend to play their starters a lot longer than they would in NBA games, just because they're on the world stage and they want to give them more playing time. Move over to Australia versus Italy, 172.5 over-under. Australia are currently 7-point favorites. Australia won their first game against Nigeria, 84-67, and this is where one of my favorite plays, if not my highest projected play on the slate, Patty Mills. He played 35 minutes, and that was in a blowout with a stat line of 25, 4, 6, and 4 steals on 7 of 16 shooting. And so like I said, he is my highest projected player on the slate. Absolutely love Patty Mills. 9.8K. I know a lot of people were scared to play him at that price tag last time just because, you think of NBA DFS, the Spurs, Patty Mills on the Spurs, and paying that price tag is wild. But when he's playing for Australia, he runs this team, and he is very, very good offensively, and they're going to play him into the ground in these Olympic games. And we've already seen, even if the games blow out, he's going to play big minutes just like he did last game. Now, this other player that I want to talk about on this Australia team is we got burned by him last game, but I'm going to go back to the well with him. He's my favorite GPP play on this entire slate, and that's Aaron Baines at 3.9K. He started, this game, and it was a bit kind of in question because he had an injury scare in the preparation games against the U.S. I believe he bumped into Bradley Beal, hurting his knee, but he was good to go in this game. But he was just, I was watching the game, he was just all out of sorts. He was missing easy layups, missing easy alley-oop, was getting into it with Precious Achiuwa, and, that led to him getting benched and him losing a ton of minutes. So I think that he is going to end up playing, somewhere in the range of 26 minutes this game, because if we look at the one preparation game where he didn't get injured, he played 22 minutes, scored 14 points, had 8 rebounds on 3 of 13 shooting. He could have shot way better and he would have scored over 20 real points. And I think we could see a similar situation in this. And he was only like 15% last game when we played him. Got super unlucky, and that's going to lead to him playing or being even lower owned this game. So I think he's going to be like single digit ownership, should grab the start again. I'm not expecting him to be so out of sorts and lose minutes to Nicholas K like he did last time out. So Aaron Baines, I'm kind of just like planting my flag there in GPPs. I absolutely love him at 3.9K. Move over to Italy. They lost their last game to Germany, 92-82. Danilo Gallinari. Now, this was definitely weird to see. We got the starting lineup, which, by the way, guys, if you guys want the starting lineups, make sure to be in the Discord. We can find the starting lineups about 5 to 10 minutes before the games start, and then we post them in the Discord. So the link is below if you want to join that. It's completely free. But Gallinari, it was kind of a panic for some people. when he wasn't starting. It wasn't really a concern to me, but it was weird that he was coming off the bench. This Italy team did just qualify without him, and so I guess they just kind of wanted to try Gallo off the bench. I don't expect that to continue. He played 8 first half minutes, which was really weird, but then he ended up closing the game and playing the last 17 minutes of the second half. So I expect him to either start this game or to just play way more minutes in the first half and kind of match what he played in the second half. So I expect him to be playing around 28 to 30 minutes. And I think people are going to be scared off of playing him. But at 8,300, I still think he's a great play. And hopefully people are scared off of him, because I'm going to get to a good bit of him. And then Fettuccini, 6,200, he ended up being a pretty popular play after he got the start. But I think he played a bit over his head, and they did raise his price to 6,200. He ended up playing 30 minutes with a 24-2-3-1 stat line, but he went 5 for 5 from 3. Now, I would not expect that from him again. I mean, if he does, good on you for playing him and hitting the luck box on him shooting lights out again. But I think that he's going to play more minutes next to Gallinari. That's going to take away from his usage. I think he's a solid play at 6,200 just because he's going to play around 30 minutes, and that's kind of hard to come by in the Olympics. So in that sense, I think he's a fine play, but I'm not going to be getting to all that much of him. And then Stefano Donut in the Discord. He played a team-high 32 minutes with an 18-3-2-3 stat line on 8 of 13 shooting. He played 34 minutes in their most important qualifying game. So I think he's a staple of this team. He's only 4,800. I would actually prefer Donut to Fettuccini. I know they're obviously different positions, but from this team, as a secondary player outside of Gallinari, I do prefer Donut to him. And then Nicola Melli, please do not chase him. Please do not chase him. Please do not chase him. I mean, he played so far over his head, it is not even funny. You look at the rest of the preparation games in similar minutes, he does nothing. He does nothing on the court. He shot very well. Not expecting that production out of him again. Moving to the last game of the slate, France versus the Czech Republic, 164 over under. France are currently 9.5 point favorites, which, by the way, I kind of lean with the Czech Republic covering this game if you are betting on this, just because I think Czech Republic played pretty poor in that first game and France played a bit better than usual. So I think this comes with recency bias just because France beat the U.S. team 83-76. But we will start with France. Like I just mentioned, they beat the U.S. But as expected, I mean, this team is the rotation is very tight with Rudy Gobert, DeColo Fournier, Batum, and Gershon Yabuselli. They're going to run this tight rotation this whole entire Olympics. All of them should play about 30 minutes plus. But Evan Fournier is my clear top option from this team. He played a team-high 34 minutes, scoring 28 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist on 11 of 22 shooting. Shot 22 times, which is wild. They raised his price to $7,500, but that's still way too cheap for him. He could be like a 10K player, and I would still play him at this rate. So I absolutely love Evan Fournier, going to be a staple of my lineups. Nicholas Batum, I think he had a floor game last time out, played 31 minutes. Raised his price to $5,600. I think, he had a stat line of 5 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 block, or 1 steal rather. I think he's a safe play. Probably not going to get to him all that much, but if he's like a last guy in this price range, I would feel fine about it. I think that he does perform a bit better on a normal basis rather than the last time out. But then Gershon Yabuselli, this is the guy I really want to talk about. He's 3,300, so he had a very, very poor stint in the first quarter where I believe he only picked up 1 bucket. He got a bucket, and that's it, in like 7 minutes. But he got injured in the first half, had to be helped to the sideline. I thought he was out for the game. Ended up coming back into the fourth. Didn't start the second half. He started the first half, didn't start the second half because of his injury, but ended up coming in the fourth quarter and looked great. He picked up all of his stats in there, ended up scoring, I believe, like 12 or 13 fantasy points in that fourth quarter, maybe a little less than that. But in the preparation games, why I loved him so much in that first slate is because of how effective he was in his minutes, and he showed that in his second stint in the fourth quarter. So if he's going to continue to start, I think he's going to play like 26 minutes, because he played 19 minutes despite getting injured in that game and missing time. So 3,300 Gershon Yabuselli. I'm going to be going back to the well with him as if we know that he's completely healthy, which I'm pretty sure he is, because he came back and closed out that fourth quarter. And then we'll end it with the Czech Republic in probably the best play on the slate. I mean, there's a lot of good plays on the slate. Tomas Satoransky at 7,400. They won their first game against Iran, 84-78. They played very, very poorly and still squeaked out that victory. But outside of Satoransky, the minutes were very, very spread out. Even for guys like Jan Vesely, former NBA player, they gave him a price raise, but he only played mid-20s minutes. Satoransky, though, played 34 minutes, scored 6 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals, but he shot 2 for 14. Now, imagine if he just shot decently. He scored 35 points. He's only $7,400. Like, I don't see how you get away with fading Satoransky. Absolutely love him. And then Andrej Balvin was the chalk of the chalk last slate. They raised his price from minimum to $3,700. Only played 19 minutes. That's the concerning part. But for $3,700, that's not too bad considering how good he is on a per-minute basis. Ended up with 9 points and 8 rebounds in limited action. Don't mind him. I think he's going to be popular again, but I think I would much rather prefer going to Aaron Baines, get a literal fraction of the ownership, and I think the minutes are going to be greater for Aaron Baines, and I think the upside is much, much higher for him. So appreciate you guys watching this video. Again, if you guys could subscribe, like this video, comment below, I would really, really appreciate that. Hit me up on Twitter. Follow me over there at Taylor Stuber. Make sure to join the Discord if you haven't already. Completely free. Links are all in the description. Appreciate you guys being here. Best of luck, and until next time, peace.